Thanks for your support as a channel member, Jeremy Kasoka! The debate over who the greatest Formula One driver of all time is an argument that will rage on for centuries. But one thing every champion has in common is that they needed a good car, which got me thinking, can the lowest rated driver on F1 Manager win the World Championship with a perfect car? Today, we find out. We'll be using Alpine for this save. The first thing I needed to do was max out the car's performance with the F1 Manager database editor. Next, I needed to find the lowest rated driver in the original database. Fortunately, that driver is already on the books at Alpine. Esteban is out the door, and 16-year-old Singaporean Kabir Anurag will be F1's latest talent. He's 45 rated at the start of the season. Here are his stats. And as you can see, our car is phenomenal. Kabir is alongside Pierre Gasly, who we will be retiring from every race this season. I'm writing this bit before starting the challenge. I think he can win the title, but it's a question of how many errors he makes that lead to race-ending damage. Let me know if you think he can become world champion and what his rating will be come the season finale in Abu Dhabi. I think he'll be at least rated 55 by the end of the season. With our car being an absolute monster, I skipped straight to the first race in Bahrain. We had indeed locked out the front row with Gasly on pole. Kabir didn't get off to a great start, dropping to 4th, as we called Gasly in to retire for no reason. Our young star soon found his way into the lead, passing world champion Max Verstappen along the way. And despite this mid-race spin, Kabir went on to dominate the race, winning by over 30 seconds. For round 2 in Jeddah, I decided to put the race difficulty up to hard from standard. Kabir was on course to win comfortably again in Saudi Arabia until this mistake in the closing laps. However, he had such an advantage, he was able to recover and claim the victory. In Australia, Kabir only qualified 8th, a second and a half off Gasly. I decided to simulate this race, but my first try saw Gasly win, so I reloaded and put him on wets and inters for the whole race. That made sure he didn't win, but Kabir crashed out and scored no points, as Leclerc won and took the championship lead. We also simmed round 4 in Japan, with Lando Norris taking the victory. Gasly finished 6th despite using slicks during a wet race. Kabir failed to finish again, with Norris now leading the championship. Kabir finished the first sprint race of the season in China 7th despite a front row start. He then only qualified 5th for the race. After putting him on a strategy where he could push the tyres, he finished 4th. Verstappen took his first win of the year and became our 4th different championship leader. Kabir found himself starting the Miami sprint in 11th as I chose to play this round. He'd made good progress up to 4th when rain arrived halfway through the sprint. He gained the lead when George Russell crashed out and brought out the red flags before we'd pitted, but that advantage was lost at the restart, and then his race was over when he drove straight into a wall for no reason. Norris went on to win the sprint. Our Singapore star qualified 4th in his rebuilt car ahead of a dry race, but we'd forgotten to change out his tired engine components, meaning Kabir's pace wasn't as strong as it could have been. He still managed to finish 4th though, as Leclerc broke down and Verstappen also battled mechanical troubles. Carlos Sainz won for Ferrari. Having won the first 2 rounds, Kabir is now 29 points adrift of Norris, who leads the way. Despite a start that Lando Norris would be proud of in Imola, Kabir managed to pass both Oscar Piastri and Miami winner Sainz on his way to victory. It was a comprehensive win by almost 30 seconds, but it wasn't without a couple of errors. It slashed his gap to the championship leader Norris to 19 points. Kabir made it back-to-back wins as he triumphed in Monaco. He overcame Charles Leclerc, who was rapid and had a well-timed safety car to thank for erasing the gap between them from the pit stops. The Monegasque moved to the top of the championship standings, with Kabir now just 9 points off the pace. Kabir's winning run came to an end though in Canada. After only qualifying 9th, the teenager collided with the Aston Martin of Fernando Alonso shortly after his only stop. Unbelievably, the steward slapped Anurag with a 5-second time penalty. He did pit Russell to the line for P8, but the penalty saw him finish 9th. We let Gasly finish this race, running 69 laps on the hard tyres before putting on the softs. He crossed the line in 3rd. Leclerc's win meant Kabir was now 32 points off the championship lead. It was a double DNF in Spain after a front row lockout for Alpine. Kabir had been fighting Piastri for the win, but these 2 mistakes saw him drop into the fight for 3rd. He then made that task harder by colliding with Daniel Ricciardo in the V-carb, and he rounded off his dismal day with a spin when he was hit by the passing Ricciardo, ending his race. Anurag will serve a 3-place grid drop in Austria for that contact, which makes total sense. Leclerc went on to win and further extend his championship advantage, 57 points now clear of Kabir. Anurag's woes continued in the Austria sprint with another DNF as Gasly won. He was making good progress in the race until Lando Norris forced him off track. Gasly broke down and caused a safety car, which allowed Kabir to challenge Leclerc. But the youngster smashed into the championship leader, sending them both plummeting down the order. The Monegasque recovered to 6th while Kabir came home 14th, but not without yet another mistake. That memorable Monaco win was now a distant memory, with only 2 points scored since. I decided to use Gasly to tactically pull Kabir away from the rest of the field at the British Grand Prix, and it worked perfectly as we built a lead of more than 20 seconds to the Red Bulls, but on lap 17 it all went horribly wrong. Both cars were out on the spot. There was stunned silence in the garage. Headphones were thrown on the pit wall and doors were smashed in the motorhome. McLaren's Oscar Piastri claimed his maiden F1 win, fending off a hard-charging Leclerc. Halfway through the campaign and Anurag is now rated 47, but almost 100 points off Charles Leclerc in the championship race. Lando Norris is the Ferrari man's closest competitor, with reigning champ Verstappen in 3rd. Ferrari led by a single point over McLaren in the constructors' standings. I chose to invest in our race simulator to help Anurag further hone his skills. I also boosted the factory so we could keep up with the building of new parts to replace those lost in all the crashes. But the crash fest continued in Hungary as Kabir slammed his car into the barriers at the final corner. He had been on course to finish at least 4th. That's now just 2 points scored across 5 races since winning in Monaco. The team had something to cheer for though, as Gasly took the victory. To try and further reduce the amount of crashes Anurag was having, I decided to use the trusty setup calculator from Spa onwards. But despite a 97% setup satisfaction, Kabir still managed to skittle Max Verstappen into La Source. Gasly scored another win, but Kabir was now 112 points off of Leclerc, who headed the championship standings by 9 points over Norris. And in another bid to make Kabir less of a hazard, I got him to focus on his driving standards in his development. At Zandvoort, Kabir made a mistake at the start, losing many places, but a red flag brought him back into play. He'd put in a great stint on the hard tyres and we'd got him up to 2nd, and he was closing in on Gasly for the win. But then this happened. Luckily, Anurag was still in the race, so we boxed Pierre to give Kabir the lead. The VSC ended at the start of the final lap. Could he get it home in time? He did cross the line first, but Norris had rapidly closed the gap, meaning he inherited the win thanks to the teenager's penalty. The British driver also took the lead of the championship as Kabir ended his barren run of points. Kabir picked up another podium at a wet race in Monza. He'd made this pass on Perez to grab P2 behind Verstappen. Championship leader Norris was only 5th, and he was now 105 points clear of Anurag. All the damage sustained from accidents meant Kabir needed a new ERS for Baku, resulting in a 10-place grid drop. He started from 15th and took a few laps to warm to his task on the medium tyres. Our one-stop strategy lifted the Singaporean into the battle for 5th with Piastri, but it all ended in tears as contact with the Aussie broke yet another front wing. The resulting stop dropped Anurag out of the points. A late safety car offered opportunity, but the race finished under caution, meaning Kabir came home 12th. Gasly won the race, but this was the end of Kabir's realistic title hopes. Another broken front wing became part of the scrap heap at Kabir's home race in Singapore as the youngster collided with Verstappen. And after colliding with the other Red Bull of Perez, I chose to call an end to the demolition of our car. Gasly took another win as a second race in succession finished behind the safety car. This win moved the Frenchman ahead of Kabir in the championship standings. With the title hopes firmly in the dustbin along with an avalanche of broken car parts, I chose to sim the remaining 6 rounds of the season. The destruction continued in Texas with 2 more Kabir DNFs as Gasly took both wins. He crashed out again in Mexico as Norris extended his title lead over Leclerc, who'd failed to score. Kabir's crash streak continued in the Brazil sprint as he and Logan Sargent failed to make it past lap 1. Amazingly, Anurag actually finished the Grand Prix, albeit in 12th. Leclerc's P2 trimmed Norris's lead to 13 points. We had locked out the front row in Vegas and Gasly took his 8th win of the season. Kabir incredibly scored points in 9th as Norris re-extended his title advantage with 2nd place. The McLaren of Piastri demoted Leclerc's Ferrari to 5th, gaining the Briton crucial points. In the Qatar sprint, we managed to finish 1-2 despite Kabir picking up damage along the way. He needed a new engine for the race, which meant a grid drop. Lando Norris clinched his first world title as Gasly won again, Norris finishing in 2nd. Leclerc again finished 5th, meaning the McLaren man now had an unassailable 31-point advantage. To the surprise of no one, Kabir didn't finish. Could Anurag at least finish the last race of the season? No, he retired from that one too. Gasly beat the McLaren duo to round off the season with his 10th win. He managed to finish the championship in 3rd while Kabir laboured to 8th. McLaren won the Constructors' title, while Alpine scored 14 wins and finished 4th thanks to a combined 18 DNFs. By the end of the year, Kabir hasn't even cracked being 50 rated on the game. Despite that, he won twice as many races as Verstappen, taking the top spot 4 times. What this season has proved to me is it's simply not just the car when a driver wins a race or a world championship. A good driver needs a good car, and a good car needs a good driver. And while Kabir Anurag didn't win the Drivers' World Championship, he certainly won the Destructors' World Championship, didn't he? So that's something for his CV. If you enjoyed this video, leave a nice big thumbs up on it for me and subscribe for more F1 Manager Challenge and Experiment videos coming very, very soon. I'll see you for the next one. You're the best, fans! Bye for now.